There's 4 check marks. Let's get that last one in here before it is officially time for an episode of Mile High Insiders. And there we go. 5 check marks. Saturday night is for Mile High Insiders, and I am joined today by a friend of mine, Jon. Jon, you guys know him. You guys love him. Buona Beast. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Really excited for the coming week with training camp, and just really looking forward to being able to go to camp on Wednesday. I do plan on being there, so for me, really excited. And the weather's better here in Colorado, so I'm happy about that as well. Not so hot. I know some of our other viewers probably took that heat and are dealing with that now. I think Willie is himself said so. But yeah, I'm doing well. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing pretty well. I went on a nice walk this morning with the dog and the wife, and went into work for 4.5 hours. Got some stuff done, and I'm going on a backpacking trip next week, so I want to make sure I get everything ready for when I'm going to be gone for a few days. And now I'm here, so I'm excited to be here. Talk a little football, talk a little bit of rookies, training camps, quarterbacks reporting, everything like that. So it's fun. And again, thank you very much for joining me today. I know that it is one of Luke's daughter's birthdays today, so he asked for it off to celebrate that big day. So make sure you guys go over to Twitter and wish Luke's daughter a happy birthday. But not here today, obviously getting the day off, and I'll be off next week as well. So can't get together, but that's okay. We got a lot of different qualified people, and as long as the community's showing up, then that's what really matters. And the community is showing up today in the shop with Willie, saying, "My man, Jon." I followed Willie today on Twitter, so better be nice, Willie. Gary Neighbors is in the house. Go Broncos. Training at one training camp rookie. So we got Jim Ross in the house as well. It's too bad we have to stop the roster at 53. It looks like a lot of depth at multiple positions. That's true. We'll get into it too. And you guys can listen to yesterday's show also, where we kind of talked about some of those fringe pieces on the Valley Deep Divers, where I subbed in for Eric yesterday. Jewel the Fool coming in over on YouTube saying, especially at the cornerback and wideout, definitely going to see some of our cuts get picked up. That's normally a good thing, right? I mean, that sucks you losing talented players, but it means that you're going from a position of strength. It's hurtful, though, when you lose a guy and then they go on and do great things. But boom, Diamond Rattler coming in here said, "Let's go." Good to see you. Jay Kozad's in the house. Hello, I usually don't like preseason games, but after last year, it will be a blessing. Absolutely. Good call there, Jay. Chase Wellner in the house. Here we go, boys. Hashtag Buona Beast. Hashtag Nick at Night. And he says, Nick at Night.
Yeah, I really do love that one. I think that's a hashtag we got to get going. I know it's not many people watch Nick at Night like as it used to be, because it used to be a lot of those older shows. Now it's kind of like Big Bang Theory kind of stuff like that. But yeah, let's do it. Let's do Nick at Night. Let's see if we can get that going. I don't know if you like it. Do you like it, though?
I'm anything that has my name on it that's about me.
You do.
I'm in. Yeah. No, I was kidding. That's I like Nick at Night. It's fun. It's kind of funny because I have the morning show too, right? But that's that tonight. Right now, it is Nick at Night. Chase says I think he'll be humored by it. We got Jay in the house. The Webby's in the house too. I hope Baron is us too. And on time today, says George. George, it is a rare occurrence if there's a show involving myself that doesn't show up on time. So I think Deshaun Dayhine coming in here saying 50-50. We came in. I actually think we hit the go at 59, not 6 o'clock. So not even on time, early. He says I need to drive to Denver and it's raining pretty heavy. Well, drive safe. Yeah, absolutely. We got DBA's in the house saying what's up. Michael's in the house too. Michael Ronquillo. Good evening, John K and Nick. Great to see you, John. Claudia's in the house. Mile High Prophet. How you doing, Mile High Prophet? It says evening Broncos country. Good to see you. Shay Leaf is in the house too, or Shalif, excuse me. Sup, folks. Good to see you. Peter Middleton over in Cambodia. Vietnam. Cambodia. How's everything going? Buana and Nick. Tommy Simmers is in the house too. Good to see you. Bobby Robbie's with a beautiful flower picture there. Good to see you. Joe is in the house. Training camp is here. What's up, Broncos country? Don't want to leave anybody before we really get going here. 7 a.m. over in Cambodia. So it's his Broncos for breakfast. It's good to see.
Love it.
Mr. McLovin's in the house. What's up, fellas? Broncos country. Stats over feelings. I feel about stats. So now what? Kenneth Patterson. I've always loved preseason games, but after last year, I appreciate them even more. Nick all day, says George. The Nick pick of the week. I'm enjoying that one too. Oh, yeah, I like this one. Johnny on the spot. That's a fun one. Moron's in the house too. Gosh, I don't want to skip Moron. Broncos already having a rookie on the pup list. Sheesh. Well, good news for you guys. Baron Browning does not have a history of injury at Ohio State, so let's hope it's just a incident right now and they're playing it safe. And Stephen Baumgartner also in the house saying, "Hey guys, so gotta no chance yet to give Steven a hard time about the Nebraska Cornhuskers, but just stick with us. We'll have a chance to do that. You guys are lucky, I guess. Nebraska's lucky they are in the Big Ten, not left in that Big 12. What the heck's going on here? Mike Gibbons is in the house too. Yeah, the Big 8, the Big nothing soon. Yeah. Steven also says Drew Lock's my quarterback. Well, we'll find out about that if it's going to be our quarterback. And we got George Fox saying, thanks for all your insight, guys. Go Broncos. Peter saying nice stars. So I believe that's to George. Thank you very much, George.
Give me 1 second. 1 second. I want to say hi to George personally. It's been a while since I've never really had an opportunity to speak to you, but we've spoken in many chat rooms for different reasons. And I just want to say thank you for all our communications real quickly. It's been a great time speaking with you.
Well, Perfect. There you go. Isn't that special? No, guys, it's Mile High Insiders. Always the community makes it what's great. But Saturday night, Mile High Insiders, every single Saturday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. You guys can follow us at Twitter, at MHI_pod, and at Mile High Huddle for the mothership. You guys can also follow John and myself, John at John K MHH. You guys love him. Bawana Beast also working the chats, working the different things, but joining us today. And you can follow myself on Twitter also at Nick Kendell MHH. If you guys are joining us today on Twitter via Periscope, shout out to you. Also, shout out to everybody joining us today via Facebook. If you're joining us via Facebook today, click those thumbs up. Well, right now we got 7 likes coming in here on the Facebook side of things. But let's get it going. I see Joe Jube in the house, Tammy Nugent, George Fox, Gary Grant, Claude Riley, Jerry, Tommy Simmers. Tommy always coming in here. So let's get some more going on here. But if you guys are joining us on Facebook today, make sure you also join us in our chat rooms, in the groups, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Appreciate everybody joining in Facebook. Oh, wow. What a call to action. I said, hey, click the thumbs up. We already doubled it in about 10 seconds. So you guys are great. Thank you so much. If you guys are joining us on YouTube today, also please subscribe, like, and share. It's the number 2 thing you can do to support the shows. Obviously, you can come in here and be like our guy in the shop with Willie, doing super chats. We also have stars in the house as well, which are always super helpful. But we got in the shop with Willie with the $2 super saying, just want to say John is underrated. # I am John. So yeah, it's one of those things. I just feel like it's time for me to say it. I am Willie. And that's the deal. So I've been doing some supers like that. So you all know that is me actually. Just getting there. Well, there we go. And let me see. It was Peter says it was from Claude who had the superstar. So if you could find that and pull that up, John, I'm trying to dig through right now. I'm not seeing it. Vinny J's in the house too. Woohoo football season. And we got Daryl Washington Sr. in the house. And Pat Surtain is the number to cornerback this year for the Denver Broncos. Number 2, I believe he means there. Yeah. TWO. But that's fine. Dave Glassman's in the house. Evening, gentlemen. So great to see Robert also. Hey, John and Nick, and of course Broncos country. And did you find the one from Claude?
I think it was just saying go Broncos with a simple kind of support. Love that. I really do appreciate that you taking the time, Claude.
John, I gotta say, since you're joining me today, we'll get to the matters of business now. But man, where's the hat? Where's the crazy horse? You're too professional for me right now. I'm wearing. Is it?
You know what? I have that hat somewhere else. Not going to worry about it, but I do love that horse. I do. And I think that should be used in 2022. So we'll just leave it at that.
Old school. My dad's old shirt.
I would never complain about the classic D. It's just one of those things where I want something a little bit more fun for once, just to change things up. I know the Browns have their 75th anniversary, so maybe you don't want to go back that far just because you don't want to get in the way of the Browns having their special time. But I could get in the way of the Browns.
Well, that's fine. We'll see. Yeah. Honestly, they should just go with a bunch of different alternates. Just do a bunch of fun stuff.
It would sell so many jerseys. Why not?
No reason not to. And if you have some ugly ones like Oregon, you got to be like a high volume shooter. Kobe it. Just keep throwing ones out there. You're going to have some classics. Also appreciate the love on Facebook here. Get some heart reactions from Gary Leeds Palmer and Dave Glassman. Thank you guys very much. Thanks for the supers. Thanks for the stars. Let's get into it. We have the officially rookies and quarterbacks. And, everybody's probably the number 1 and 2 things we talk about on this show in the off season. Rookies and quarterbacks showing up for officially training camp. That means football's here. And John, I think you are going to be heading that way here pretty soon as well. So I'm a little jealous. But tell me your thoughts. I mean, not even analysis, just your Empath, being empath for a second. How you feeling? Excited? Good to go? What are you thinking about?
I'm feeling very excited. I've spoken to a few Broncos players, and just I feel that I feel ready to get into camp. I feel the Broncos players are healthy, feeling good, ready to get into camp, do their work. Even though they've been doing the work, separately on their own, I think it's time for this team to come together. I think they will. I am feeling very good about this roster, and I really do feel actually good about the coaching staff as well. I know others don't feel as good about that. But if this is the time for anything to go right, here's the season, prove it. Otherwise, Peyton has 5 more years for his contract. That's kind of why that's what I feel right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm really excited about it as well, especially, I mean, obviously we're not completely through or out of the woods with everything going on in the world. Don't want to comment too much on that. But it does feel like we are at least somewhat a little bit more normal this off season. At least we have some means to a little bit more understanding and means to combat what's going on in the world. So excited about that, and excited for these rookies to get in here. Excited for the quarterbacks to get in here too and get some work with these rookies. I know it's not going to be nearly as much work or as much weight as when you have Cortland Sutton in there, Noah Fant, Tim Patrick, etc. The first team offensive line working with these quarterbacks, but still, it's reps. It's something these coaches can use to maybe get a little bit better idea what these quarterbacks need to work on or how they're just looking in general. So it should be great. Robert Reibel coming in here with a $2 super over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Robert. And he says, John's background lacks orange. All caps with an exclamation point. Defend yourself.
It does lack orange. There's nothing I can say. I mean, here we go. That's orange. We got some orange.
There you go.
I'm not going to move this painting, honestly, for it. I know it looks, it doesn't look quite right with the other guys, but hey, I'm not potting every single day or every week. So that's kind of my reasoning. So thank you so much, though. It's a nice paint. Come on, give me credit.
John painted it. How dare you? That's rude. He did it with his fingers, and it's like, that's a beautiful finger painting you got going on behind you, John.
Thank you. It took years in my early life. It did.
There you go. But thank you very much, Robert. We got Gary Leeds in the house too. Probably the king of the superstars coming here, always having the stars. And hopefully with John here, I don't know if you're able to follow the stars to let me know what's happening there. Because otherwise I'm sometimes just like, oh, that's the one. But John K and Nick, now there's a pair to draw to. JK, love you guys talking about drawing there. Travis is in the house too. Good evening, Nick and John. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. I'm excited about PS2. Can't wait to see him on the field. Asthma spray coming in here. Drew Lock beats Gorillas and Bears. Definitely talking about Mina Kimes' comment earlier where she was there was a TikTok or whatever. Like, what do guys talk about? Like all these things about girls? No, they're talking about stupid stuff. John, I got to ask you, this is a debate going back for Carl and I way back. Who wins a fight straight up, one-on-one? A silverback gorilla or a grizzly bear?
A silverback gorilla or a grizzly bear? A gorilla. Let's go with the gorilla.
Carl somewhere is jumping and clicking his heels. Like a grizzly bear weighs like 3 times as much.
But if the gorilla uses, I don't know. I really don't know. Let's just set it up. Let's just set it up eventually, and we'll get it done.
We'll leave that as a to be determined. George saying Moana started off as a chat mod. Now he's an insider for MHH. I mean, yeah, you put in the work, things happen. That's great. Yeah. Mile High Prophet says, hope to see you all at camp on Wednesday. That'll be great.
I'll see you there.
Commenting. Oh, Travis is one with a lot of stars coming in here. So Travis, thank you so much. We're all excited for Surtain as well, right? Like some people maybe wanted Justin Simmons. Maybe some people wanted an offensive lineman. Hindsight's 2020. But alas, it's Patrick Surtain. We should be excited about that. It's a position of value, and he's going to be a really good one, I think. So, nice stars. Wow, Travis.
Why don't we dive into Surtain a little bit more while we have that question going? What are your thoughts on Surtain when he was initially drafted? And I guess it doesn't really matter as much. What are your thoughts today as he's going into camp? Is there anything you're nervous about, excited about? Tell me on your thoughts on Surtain right now.
I'm really interested to see what his role will be for this team. That's probably the biggest thing for me. Like he's going to be a fine safety, no doubt, or a defensive back, no doubt. And a lot of people saying gorilla, grizzly, blah, 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 and then bear all day. But we got to get to Stu here real quick. He says, hi all, and then drops the $20 super. Hey, people are asking, where's the orange? There's Stu coming in with the orange right there with the 1999 super. Thank you so much, Stu.
Thank you so much, Stu.
Yeah,
Yes,
God.
every single show. And, we've had him on a few times. I love speaking to him. He's very insightful when it comes to Broncos. It's just one of those things. He is so busy and would love to have you on again, though. I really appreciate being able to speak with you the times we have.
Yeah, no, Stu, thank you so much. Back to Surtain, Patrick Surtain the second. My biggest thing is what role is he going to be in this year? I think it was in the shop with Willie saying he's going to be kind of gadgety this year, or he's going to be a gadget type corner. I think he will fit well. And that's one thing you saw also with Surtain at Alabama. He played star his rookie year, which is essentially Alabama playing like a 4-2-5 base. And that nickel corner is more, instead of the small kind of Chris Harris Jr. or Bryce Callahan with a smaller, kind of twitchier, they'd go with kind of a bigger cornerback because they're much better in run fits and playing the edge and better in that RPO game rather than the small guys going up against like the Wes Welkers, the Julian Edelmans. So he played that slot originally and he was good there. And then he played outside after that. There was some talk also that Surtain could have played safety like we saw Minkah Fitzpatrick shift to from Alabama to the NFL. So I think he could play every single position in the defensive backfield quite well. I think that safety is a fallback option for him if he fails at boundary corner or that big slot. But where he fits this year is a question because initially, like, am I going to put him day one over Darby, who the Broncos paid big money, Kyle Fuller, who's an all-pro, and Bryce Callahan, who's made for the slot in the NFL? I don't know. And if that means Surtain's coming in somewhat and you're rotating them and he's playing rotational snaps against tight ends or big slot receivers, that's fine. That's pretty crazy, though, for the 9th overall pick. That's not a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the Broncos have to go with, as you were saying, Darby, with whom they paid so much money to, and he's going to be on the Broncos roster. I'm not sure if they're any worried about his health, but I mean, if you give him that kind of money, you have to think he's going to be finally healthy. For me, like you were saying, I think Surtain was helped by being at Bama. I think this somewhat prepared him for the role. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. Alabama kind of uses an interesting defensive back technique where it's more of like a shuffle rather than the classic like mirroring technique because they just pivot. They can push guys inside and typically they have enough athletes on inside where they can get away with that. It doesn't always translate to the NFL, and that was something that was debated a lot with Marlon Humphrey when he came out. Like, oh man, they teach this weird cornerback technique at Alabama. These Alabama corners aren't transitioning as well as you'd hope given their draft status. But recently that hasn't really been as much of a matter. So I'm not really that worried about that. But I think it can only help, right? Like Alabama. Also, one of my favorite quotes about Surtain coming into this draft is that Nick Saban would, give him situations, scenarios, pass sets, routes, and he'd like, what'd be the ideal coverage here? And he'd instantly get it. So you're going to need a guy who can process like that, know what's going on in this Vic Fangio defense, given how much he puts on the plates of those back players to be able to see things happening at the same time, to read things the same. So that way your coverage can be you make the same coverage choice. That's like what happened. I don't know if it's a couple years ago, if you remember I think it was the Minnesota game where Stephon Diggs had like 3 touchdowns. And there was a play where like Chris Harris Jr. and Justin Simmons were both like hands up. Like what happened? I don't remember exactly who messed up, but one of them or both of them, they did not read it the same, caused a big hole in the coverage on the back end. Easy touchdown when that happens. So you got to have guys who are smart and on the same page. And for a 21-year-old Surtain, that's a big ask. But given his pedigree, given how people talk about his intelligence, his work ethic in the classroom, I don't think it's actually that big of a stretch for him. I think he's actually going to be one of the few people who can hit the ground running, given everything surrounding him.
And that's what you need, especially at the 9th overall pick. I agree. I do worry that he's not going to play too much, but in the end, these first-round picks are always investments. You can't look at them based off their first year.
Yes.
If anything, he's going to learn a lot from his competition. He's going to learn from those different players and just kind of take it to the next level, I believe. So that's maybe why you see some of those other cornerbacks maybe go next year, and this is a plan for the future, more or less, which would be fine in my part.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you talked about it being an investment. You have both Bryce Callahan and Kyle Fuller, who will be free agents after this season. You don't really know exactly what you have in Michael Ojemudia. Ronald Darby has injury history. Bryce Callahan has injury history. You never want to say that any position is injury-proof, but the Broncos, compared to where they were last year, I would say they're about as injury-proof as you can be at the cornerback position, unless you see a historic run on injuries, which, knock on wood, right? It could happen, but it shouldn't happen given how much depth and talent they have there. So we got Bobby's coming in here with the beautiful flower picture again. Surtain will be great for the Broncos. And here we go. Tommy Simmers saying, are we really going to stick a rookie on Waller and Kelsey? I don't buy Patrick Surtain defending these guys solo successfully this year. Well, that's the thing about this defense in general. You're not going to see anybody really guard anybody solo almost ever, unless like a running back's flanked out. You'll kind of see some of that, but this isn't a man-up defense where you're sending 6-7 guys at the quarterback. There's going to be some level of help back there. A lot of pre-snap 2 safety reads, and then they'll kind of split, whether it be 2 back or a single high with 1 coming down. But there's not going to be much actual one-on-one. So when you say don't buy him defending these guys solo, not really going to happen anyway. And Surtain with his length, his physicality, as long as he can play with them, in that 5 to 10 yard box there, that's enough. That should be enough, at least.
Yeah, and no one has can really say they've stopped Waller and Kels. I don't know if we're still going with that.
It's Kelsey.
It's Kelsey. I agree. Let's just say
his brother said it's Kelsey.
Oh, he did. So and he's a great center, by the way. But Kelsey, there's no stopping them for sure. As you saw in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl game, Kelsey was able to still be productive. It's just a matter of stopping him in those big moments. And in those times when you can beat him, those are the big times. So you can stop those long drives, maybe make a field goal attempt, something like that, and they miss it. So I agree with you there.
Yeah,
Cobra Commander, how's it going? What's up, Beast? Yeah, he's in
Good
Germany. So we have a few people from across different areas. Really glad to see you. Very nice. So do you want to talk about Williams a little bit since we have some time here?
Javonte Williams. First, let's get to this super sticker from Travis Weber. Thank you very much, Travis. I'm going to imagine that it is a... Okay, there we go. I was going to say, I'm going to imagine it's a squirrel with a nut.
I'll pull that up.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. So why don't you start talking a little bit about Williams?
So Javonte Williams, he is somebody who you should expect to be as good day one as he'll be in his career and as any rookie position. That's the nature of the running back position in general. They are ones that are historically day one ready. They do have some work to do as far as like pass catching and route running, but he's going to be effective in the ground game. I do think it's worth noting that Melvin Gordon was pretty good last year, especially towards the end of the season. And because of his, honestly, let's just call it as it is. Because of Philip Lindsay being here, a lot of people were against Melvin Gordon out of the gate because they felt like it was an attack and infringement on supporting Philip Lindsay. Lindsay's gone, folks, so you don't have to hate Melvin Gordon for that anymore. I should just be happy that he'll be here, and it's going to be a good battle between those two guys. And you guys know I'm very stats-oriented driven. EPA per play, it's much less efficient to run the ball than pass the ball. But this is a team, just how it's built, its identity, I think, will be that running game. And if they can be a physical team and have teams, even if they don't win every game, they won't, but beat the hell out of them. Like a physical team where you're coming out of there, you need to spend a little bit of time in the tub after that. The Broncos can do that with these running backs, theoretically. Obviously, offensive line, what does that interior look like this year? How do they perform? That's a big tell for how good your run game will be, but I feel very good about Gordon and Williams, and I'm really excited for Williams this year. Do I have expectations for him to win Rookie of the Year? Probably not, because you have Gordon in the backfield too. But if Gordon goes down, Williams, buy the stock. Maybe even buy low, just because there's a possibility with Gordon being older, everything going on there. Because if he goes down, Williams could be a star. But I just don't know if there's enough volume to go around for him to be that guy this year.
Yeah, I agree with you in many ways. When it comes to Gordon, I really do want to run him hard. He did finish last year strong. I know a lot of people aren't happy with his contract. That contract was given out. He's on this team. He's not being traded. He's not going anywhere. That money's guaranteed. So let's have the Bulls, or he's just not getting pushed, anything like that. But I don't see that happening. I see with this offensive line, I see them being able to gel, work as a unit. A little bit concerned with right tackle, not sure how that's going to work out yet. But in terms of the interior offensive line, who I will get to later on the center position, I assume, I feel like they're going to be much improved. And I think they're just going to have, with Munchak, that additional time to gel, especially with those younger guys. They're going to learn more. Hopefully over, this offseason, they've been able to get stronger. So Williams, for me, can have a great season, but I think Gordon's your guy still. I know that's not what you want to hear, but eventually maybe when the season gets a little bit longer, maybe you start to split carries. But until then, make sure that Gordon is getting that workload, and then eventually, yeah, maybe you can transition. Just not into it 100% quite yet. I mean, you have him for 4 years at cost control. Don't wear him down. You have Gordon for 1 more year left. Let him try to prove to the other teams that he's going to be that number 1 running back still. So let's have him prove it. And if so, maybe he can become a Bronco again. And I was looking at Bob Morris. He made a tweet a little bit later saying about 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns for Williams. Is that something you see possibly happening? That high of a volume? I don't see the touchdowns. I think Gordon's the goal line back. I just don't see 13 a little bit more than that. But I'm just that's not what I see from Williams in his rookie year. I don't see him being a volume kind of guy at this point. And I think also Gordon's a better receiver.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that the 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns is probably a little bit pie in the sky because you're not seeing, I don't think there's enough ball to go around to get that volume unless you're talking about Gordon going down for some extended period of time. And also, I don't see the Broncos' offensive philosophy leading themselves to that level of production. It's not going to be like any running back with Peyton Manning was a fantasy darling because they, even though it was a passing offense, the box was going to be empty and they were going to get theirs. Like No-Show Marino was a, no-show Marino. That's as they were called him early on until Peyton got there. And then boom, he's like running back 2 in fantasy football. So I don't think that's going to be the case. This isn't going to be a high octane offense this year, even though the weapons, I think it's going to be more of a grind it out, try to protect the football, play with our defense, give our defense field position for the first time in since like 2016 and win games that way. I know that the NFL is definitely trending towards score as many points as you can as quickly as possible. Look no further than what the SEC has transitioned to. I mean, it was just literally 6 years ago, we saw Alabama versus LSU, and it was like a 6-3 final. And then 4 years later, it's like the first 1 to 60 wins. Football's changing. Like people are like, oh man, they're giving up yards. They're giving up, some points, not getting 3 and outs. Football's changing. Nobody's doing that unless you're watching the Big Ten West where they have quarterbacks who can't hit a 10-yard out. Giving myself a Hawkeye dig there. But that's the game right now. So that level of volume, I think that's improbable this year. And Peter's saying I see just 500, 600 for him. I think you got a chance to see 700 to 800. But 1,300 is a lot unless Melvin Gordon goes down. So yeah, we'll see. And Peter coming in here. Does Gordon have any chance at a new contract at a lower rate? I think that's possible elsewhere. I don't see it in Denver. You just traded up in the second round to go get Javonte Williams. Gordon's still probably going to get paid decent money. I don't see any way the Broncos can cut up there. I mean, it's a salary cap, right? There's only so many pieces of the pie. You got a bunch of wide receivers that need to get paid soon. Noah Fant's going to need to get paid soon. Bradley Chubb's going to need to get paid soon. I can't see them paying Melvin Gordon when you have cost-controlled, young, good legs with Javonte Williams there. So it's an easy transition plan to me. Unless Gordon plays like Adrian Peterson in his prime this year. I think it's not likely.
The Broncos have, I believe, 32 players they have to re-sign potentially next year, restricted, unrestricted. I'm not going to make a distinction. So they have a lot that they have to do. I think Gordon can definitely earn his way back at a lower rate. It's just a matter of, is it the number one thing on their minds? I think the Broncos are going to go out and try to get cheap labor when it comes to the running backs. Go ahead, real quick. I want to get the super real quick from Travis. Thank you so much for the super. Keep it up. I'm trying my best. It's hard with Nick. Nick is very astute, and when it comes to the Broncos and the entire NFL, so it's one of those things where I'm just trying to keep up with Nick. Really appreciate it.
It's just fun to talk football. It's crazy that people want to come in here and just hang out with us. It really is a blessing. So thank you, Travis, and appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. In the shop, Willie is saying, I think Quinn has a better chance to start at some time than we were giving him credit for. If injuries happen, absolutely. I do think everybody's like talking about Quinn Minor starting at center. I also think there's an equal chance out there for Quinn starting this year at center as there is, let's say there's an injury to Lloyd Cushenberry, and then you see a Graham Glasgow transition over to center with a Netane Moody starting at guard. It really is a Miners versus Cushenberry, but it's also a Miners versus Moody discussion to be had as far as the shuffling of the interior offensive line. But man, I'm excited to have that depth. Tackle position, let's put that in a box. The interior offensive line, though, should be excited about that.
I'm very excited about the interior offensive line. I do think Cushenberry is going to come out much stronger. I'm worried about when it comes to Quinn Meinerz. I'm worried that he's been in the spotlight pretty much for an interior offensive lineman picked in the 3rd round. He's seen quite a bit of spotlight. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing or anything like that. It's just a matter of I want him to take the time, calm down, get into camp, settle in, and start learning the playbook, keep up with the other offensive linemen, not try to go too fast, try to do too much. He has to take time to learn, take time to develop. And for me, I think this is really Cushenberry's job to lose. I agree so much when you're talking about, is this a argument for Graham Glasgow possibly to move to center eventually if there's an injury to Cushenberry and then Muti is starting, or do you put, I personally believe Schlotman is a very good right guard as well, left guard. I think he can play anywhere. So for me, I also think that he also can potentially move into center as well. Keep Cushenberry or keep Glasgow at right guard. Keep it kind of settled. It's just a matter of who's the right lineup when it comes to gelling. I'm sure Munchak can make that right distinction. He'll play with different linemen. I think that's a big thing going forward. I just don't see Quinn having the ability to win this center position. I'm excited about his future. Don't get me wrong. He has a great future with versatility, could play, anywhere on the interior offensive line. I just want to give him a year to develop. As you've said many times, he was Division III. He took a year off. I agree with you wholeheartedly. He has to take his time, not rush this.
Yeah, and if we don't see Meinerz at all this year, I'm not worried at all. I feel like some people will be like, oh man, you drafted him in the 3rd round. Your interior offensive line was struggling. It's a point I've made on here 100 times. Connor McGovern, Matt Paradis, they didn't even make the Broncos 53-man roster their rookie season. So to expect, even though he's a 3rd round pick, to come in and dominate day one, you're probably going to get something similar to Lloyd Cushenberry, but maybe even while the blocking and the run blocking will be better, the checks, the pre-snap stuff, all the intelligence stuff that goes into the position that Cushenberry had experience with because he played center at LSU for multiple years that Meinerz just does not have yet, could be struggling in a different way. So I don't know. That's confusing there. And I think Cush will have a lot to come down to run plays in preseason. I mean, he's one that's battling for his long-term work as well. I mean, no doubt about it. And Cushenberry said it. I love the self-awareness from the position. He said, listen, if I played better last year, probably not drafting that guy. I didn't do good enough. Here they are. I wish other players had that level of self-awareness rather than, blaming everybody else besides themselves for their lack of performance. But speaking of performing here, always performing, nobody to blame. Muhammad Badri coming in with a $3 super over on YouTube, said Braun and the Beast in the house. Thank you very much, Muhammad. Good to see you. It's been a hot second.
It's been a hot second. Really glad to be able to see you. Stop on by. We missed the king of the super stickers. We miss you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of people are on the right track in the chat as well when it comes to the center position and these other positions. Why don't we move on to Browning real quick, who is on the active PUP? Why don't you kind of lead with that?
Yeah, so he had that injury that suffered in rookie training camp early on. So now he's on the PUP, and while this really feels like it's going to be a wash season for Browning as far as his ability to make an impact on the defense. It was always possible that was going to be the case, but now that he's missed so much time rehabbing this injury, I do think we will see him this year, but anything beyond special teams, I think will just be icing on the cake. I don't have any expectations beyond special teams this season. And you know what? That's fine. Josie Jewell, Alexander Johnson, those are a fine pair of starting linebackers for this scheme in the 3-4. Are they going to confuse anybody for Al Wilson or John Mobley back in the day? No, but Vic Fangio does not ask his linebackers. It's a different NFL. Also, Vic Fangio does a good job of not putting those guys in position where they are going to be exposed very often. People scream about the tight end position, covering the tight end position, but Broncos, a fourth of their schedule comes against arguably the 2 best tight ends in football. That's always going to make it harder. Like, imagine if every single game you went up against LeBron James. Oh, we can't stop the small forward. Well, no freaking duh. Like, you're going up against LeBron James. It's just the nature of the actual opponent. So I think they're a fine pair, and they're both going to be free agents this next year. So if we don't see anything from Baron Browning this year as far as starting, that doesn't mean he's going to be a bad player. It's always been about if he can develop into a guy who can potentially start 2022 and beyond.
I agree with you there. It's all about the future when it comes to Browning. And I still think that with Sternad as well. I don't think he's in a position to, besides be a rotational player when the guys need a breath, unless there's an injury. I don't think you have to, push him out there right immediately. But for me, I agree with you. If I don't want to force him and have him play edge or inside linebacker, just telling him play with your instincts or something like that. I want to make sure that he's prepared for this role. I'm worried about him being told to do too much for different positions. I don't want a Justin Holland situation again. It's what I'm essentially saying. And I think that the Broncos are going to avoid that. I don't know what his impact will be on special teams. Would he be essentially a gunner on punt or on kickoff, you think?
I think you'd see him mostly on kickoffs. Yeah, probably some punt return duties. But that would be that'd be most likely here. And we got Peter Middleton coming in here, I believe, with the Stars, saying, I hope Browning won't be the bust of the draft. Why do you think he dropped to the bottom of the third? I think he had a lot of highly recruited player, very high recruiting profile, a great athlete. Linebacking position, I talked about it with Scott on Thursday. You can have all the athleticism in the world, but if you don't have instincts or processing, you're going to struggle at the linebacking position. One of the best athletes to play the linebacking position in the last 20 years was Champ Bailey's brother, Boss Bailey. Kicked around the league because he just didn't process the game very well, didn't have good instincts. And it's not that Browning doesn't have that or won't have that. He just didn't always display that at Ohio State. So while he had an amazing athletic profile, could play edge, could play off-ball linebacker, there are some questions about the actual awareness and ability to break down the football game, or break down between the tackles, read the game. And that's something that, there are reasons for that also. Like Ohio State moved him around a lot. I think he played all 4 different linebacking spots for that Ohio State defense. But it's something that's going to take some time for him to kind of figure it out. And it's almost like a thing like I've heard Daniel Jeremiah talk about this a lot of times with when it comes to prospects. When you ask them to do too much, they become, not even a jack of all trades. They become a 6 of all trades. And for a player that's like developing, you would want them to be able to master a craft. It's great if they can be versatile and great in many spots. But if they're struggling, especially on the mental side of taking all that in and performing those different roles, maybe you should dial it back, give them something more focused, and let them grow into that. And that's something hopefully you'll see from Browning this year. I know they talked about cross-training him, edge and off-ball. Both these injuries and everything right now, I really do think that ship has sailed. He's probably just going to get work at off-ball this year. And if he can't stick there a year from now, then you'll see that edge talk. But I think this year is going to be slow burn for him. Let him go be an athlete on special teams. You need those guys on special teams. This team needs special teams help. But after that, it's wait and see. And we got Robert coming in here.
Got Robert coming back in here. Oh, go ahead.
There's a little bit of lag here between you and me.
We got Robert coming back in here with a $5. There's a lag.
Yes.
Yeah, I can. Sorry about that. It's probably from me. Mount Rushmore of DBs and linebackers. I assume we're talking Broncos only.
Yes.
Okay, so for Broncos, for me, Champ Bailey obviously has to be on there. When I'm thinking of other guys, man, why don't you give us a few names? Give me a second.
I'll just do 2 linebackers and 2 defensive backs. So I'll do Champ Bailey, Steve Atwater, Randy Gradishar, and Von Miller. Technically outside linebacker, right? And I'm not gonna have a Mount Rushmore without Von Miller on there. You still there, John? You guys in the comments, let me know if John is still there.
It's really the same names. Carl. Yeah. Can you see me?
I can see you. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'll get out of here in a second if I'm having some issues. But yeah, I agree with you there. And who are yours, Robert, though? I want to know who you have there. Who are maybe some younger ones, some older ones? Really interested in that from you guys. Here we got Bill Romanowski as one. I like Romo. I'm not sure if I can feel him as a Broncos top player, but I did like the way he played. I loved his attitude. Just didn't love the way how he got to where he's at.
Yeah. And for once, it's not my computer with the freezing of the internet. So that's fine. We're working our way through it. But yeah, let's keep it going. He says good now. So thank you for the super chat there, and hopefully I answered those guys. He said if it's just Broncos Denver linebackers, I think he said defensive backs too, but if it's just linebackers, I'll do Gradishar, Mecklenburg, Al Wilson, and Von Miller also. Because outside linebacker, there we go. Carl Mecklenburg. Ooh, Tom Jackson is also a worthwhile guy. If you're doing pure off-ball, substitute Von out there for Tom Jackson. And there you go. It's a dying, I don't want to say it's a dying position, but it's definitely a position that is as devalued today in today's NFL as it's ever been. So there we go. People are sleeping on Stearns. If he's talking about Caden Stearns, we'll get to that in a second. So actually, let's get to it now. I think he was actually the next pick.
He's the next
Stearns. There is a roster spot, a key role available for that third safety position. Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, they should be obviously expected to be the starters. But Vic Fangio, he has liked to use a third safety historically. Now, that being said, I could see that slice of the pie as far as role goes somewhat switched over to a Patrick Surtain this season, given his versatility, given his size. He might be the de facto third safety that's being used just because of the role where they're typically using him in the box slot, overhang kind of player. So that might actually be Patrick Surtain this year, but by position, just writing it out, there is a role to be had. Caden Stearns definitely has a chance. Obviously, there's Jamar Johnson too. That honestly might be the most fun actual battle that we're going to have out there for rookie training camp going on right now, or the lead into preseason with rookies reporting. Stearns versus Jamar Johnson. Who's looking good out there? That'll be fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. With Stearns, I have a question for you actually. If he had better tackling going on into this season, better tackling rates, how much higher do you think he would have gone, or would have been the same kind of situation for him? And actually for Jamar Johnson, if they both can handle their tackling and hone that in, do you think that these guys would have been higher picks? And do you believe in that chance of development is very high for a fifth round pick for both of them?
Yeah, they're both going to. Was Stearns a fifth round pick or a fourth round pick? I can't even remember.
Fifth. They both were, I think.
Okay. And Peter, yes, I think you're right here. We chose Stearns first for a reason. Johnson is the favorite of the fans, though. And yep, you're right there. Johnson was a preseason darling. I think it's because that game against Ohio State, he had an all-time game for an Indiana safety, right? Like, he just all over the field, good at taking the ball away, and that's flashier. Caden Stearns, though, higher rated recruit, a guy who I think is as good playing multiple roles because he has a better athletic profile than Johnson, but Johnson has better instincts and ball skills. So it'll be fun to see, and both fifth. Thank you very much. Stearns, Johnson, whoever tackles better, they probably get the role. But again, these are both guys that the Broncos needed safety depth. They paid Justin Simmons, but there's probably not a way, given Justin Simmons' contract and how teams allocate salary cap, they're probably not paying another safety big money coming up here. And Kareem Jackson, I mean, they were fine cutting him and bringing him back after his market was dead this offseason. He's probably gone after this year. And I don't expect the Broncos to look to pay another safety big money. So that means Jamar Johnson, Caden Stearns. It's the same thing with talking about Browning earlier. There's a role, a big role for them. It's more about 2022 starting and their ability, who can win that role. They start paving that road tomorrow, right, with how they play tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like tackling, handling all the roles, we talked about earlier, the how much intellectual demand there is for those safeties because they have to be able to read it right. You start paving that road tomorrow.
Exactly. I agree with you 100% there. Why don't we get moving a little bit more along because we're pressed for time a little bit. Getting into the sixth round, Seth Williams, I'm not very high on. Why am I hearing so many positive things about him for sixth round? I get it. I love his size. But for me, the Broncos have those answers. If he's a practice squad player, I love it. I just don't see this guy be able to make it onto the 53. And otherwise, I'm concerned that he may be picked up somewhere else.
You almost have to keep him on if you think there's anything for him in 2022 and beyond, because talking to these rookies, this is how people need to think about rookies, right? We keep talking, 2021, yeah, roll here, there. How do they fit with their 4 years of cost control into the future? And Seth Williams is a prototypical X receiver. He's probably going to need to work on his routes. Right now, he plays very high, which is an issue. That means he really struggles to create separation in the short area because he turns like it's not like he turns like a battleship like DK Metcalf, who plays super tall, but he's such a freak, doesn't even matter. But he's got to be able to sink his hips a little bit when he runs routes better. But this Broncos team, they have a big need at X beyond 2021. This year, great at X. Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. Not many teams can tout having those two good of X receivers, the X position for receiver. But they're both free agents at the end of the year. You would think that Seth Williams easily slides in to being that other, the other X beyond 2021. So we'll see what happens there. I'm worried if you put him on the practice squad, somebody else is going to gobble him up. Don't you think, John? John. Okay, well, John is gone. But if he comes back, that's fine. We'll keep it moving here. Jonathan Cooper. He's one that I know that Lance yesterday had him on the Broncos, making it the 53-man roster. But there goes John. Well, it's just me, baby. Woo! Let's go. No, Denver Broncos. Okay, I gotta doing it live. But John will be back in a second, I bet. We're talking about Jonathan Cooper, 7th-round pick, another high recruit, has a heart defect, so that might cause him to sit out early season. And I can see the Broncos, because of that, using next year as so much of a redshirt season for Jonathan Cooper. And this actually brings me to my first undrafted free agent, who I am very curious about making this team, and that's Mins. Mins, Vanderbilt player, edge rusher, undrafted free agent. It's pretty rare for an undrafted free agent edge rusher to make a scene and really become a great player. And I know that I say that a little tongue in cheek because the Broncos have done that recently with Shaq Barrett and Malik Reed. But historically speaking, from the league landscape, that's pretty darn rare. So, and yeah, John, I can see you in the back room. So if you want to join back, you can. But if not, we'd love you to have you back. Let's chat. There he goes. You look good.
All right. If I have any audio issues, one more time, get me out of here. Because we want to make this still friendly for our users afterwards and for you guys as well. So you were talking about Cooper, I believe?
Yeah, Cooper, John Cooper. He's a 7th-round pick for the Broncos this year. I think he was their first 7th-round pick as well. It could have been him or Kerry Vincent Jr. Jonathan Cooper's got the heart issue, and he's had to have surgery on it again. It's not like life-threatening. It probably did cause him to drop, though, from like the late 5th-round pick to a 7th-round pick. And I think that he has a chance to make the roster this year, but I think it'd be equally prudent for the Broncos this season to give him a redshirt season, put him on injured reserve or whatever, and then subjecting him to a roster spot in 2022. So what does that mean? There's a chance for Derek Tuska, but also I think there's a chance for Andre Mins, who is a solid player. He's a little bit undersized for the edge rushing position, 6'2 and a half, 250, but that puts him a lot like Malik Reed. So there's a fit for that on this team, and there's a role. So I think Mins has got a chance to make this roster. He's one of the few undrafted free agents that could make it. So, and John looks frozen again. So R.I.P. John, as we said here. That's John's having some energy. John's frozen. Well, guys, it's just me again. Sorry about that. But now starts Nick's OnlyFans episode, and you got this, Nick. And here we go. I really like all the rookies. Let's keep it going on these rookies here. Kerry Vincent Jr. He's one that I am really excited about seeing this year as far as his ability to work for a slot position. Obviously, the Broncos just put Asang Bassi on the the PUP list, I believe it was, or the PUP list. Asang Bassi, Baron Browning, and Duke Dawson Jr. Asang Bassi and Duke Dawson Jr., guys who played slot for the Broncos on defense. Bryce Callahan, injured and coming off an injury last year. Kerry Vincent Jr. has a real chance to make the active 53-man roster and become the starting slot for this Broncos team beyond 2021. So I'm really excited to see Kerry Vincent Jr. this season. He's also somebody, if the Broncos, because of roster math, cannot make a Deontay Spencer fit on the team, I think Kerry Vincent Jr. has a chance to be a kick returner as well. So the people saying, there goes John's internet. Reboot your router, my friend. The beast is down. The beast is always here. He's here in our hearts. He's right here, guys. He always is. I'm excited for Kerry Vincent Jr. this year. Kerry Vincent Jr.'s issue wasn't athleticism or talent or anything like that. There were some reports that I want to quote specifically here because I don't want to say that I'm pulling it out of my butt. Lance Zierlein said that there were some people at LSU's program who were less than enthused by Kerryon Vincent Jr.'s attitude and work ethic coming out of LSU. Skipped out on last season or withdrew from last season. Falls to the 7th round this year. Worth a 7th round value there. And hopefully he comes out and finds a roster spot, but it'll be interesting to see with him. The last guy that we want to talk about that was drafted here was Marquise Spencer, who played kind of a edge / defensive lineman for Mississippi State. I believe he was a 4-star recruit, and he's going to be really interesting this year. He's the first one that I come to that's like, you know what, you can probably put him on the practice squad and nobody else will touch him. If somebody else does touch him, that there's an issue for their team, because I don't expect anything from Marquise Spencer this season. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't expect anything from Marquise Spencer until probably 2023. He's going to take some time to get his body right. Typically, those trench players, if they're not early draft picks, there's a reason for that. It's kind of a have or have not for the body types and the athleticism there. Spencer's going to take some time to work. So I think he's probably most likely to be destined for the practice squad this season. If not, that's pretty surprising. I am very interested, though, to see how his role shapes up versus somebody like a McTelvin Najim, who has to step up this year. Same year ago, McTelvin Najim, we don't see him in 2020. Yeah, it's fine. Has to step up in 2021. We're there, Najim. Time to go. And I guess that leaves for us for some undrafted free agents I want to get to as well, unless there are any chats here that John wants to pull up. But a couple guys I want to highlight that I think has a chance to make this team. Drew Himmelman from Illinois State. He's probably one that you hope you won't see this year, but very likely to make the practice squad based on what I've heard. Body type, he's going to have to get stronger, but I think he has a chance to develop into a swing tackle down the line. If he's starting, I don't love that, but you have to have swing tackles there. They have value too. And the other guy I want to bring up is Sean Beyer. He's been standing out. Apparently he was standing out, and the Broncos have a big need for tight end down the roster. How important is the 4th tight end? Okay, well, we're talking about an undrafted free agent here, guys. What are we going to do? But Sean Beyer, he's one that stood out recently, and I expect him to give a strong shot for, fighting somebody like an Andrew Beck and all those other people, Eric Schaubert, who could make that 4th/3rd tight end role. The good news here, when we're talking about the likes of guys on PUP, Essang Bassey, Duke Dawson Jr., and Baron Browning, while we're talking about that, also it's important to note who did not go on the PUP list, which is great news for the Broncos. And that includes Albert Okwue-Bunam, who is going to be fighting, not even fighting. He should be the tight end too for this team this year. He has some areas to improve on, but man, he is very talented, height, weight, speed. So for a tight end too, that could be a lot of fun. Mike Purcell, healthy. I know that's one of John's favorite, one of the best run stuffers in football. Bradley Chubb. All these guys avoid PUP. Chubb is going to have a big year. He's playing for a big contract. Also important, these guys are not on the PUP list. Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, and Shelby Harris, all guys with some injuries that they're coming off of, and they're going to be healthy. So they're relatively healthy, good enough to go. So great news there. And let's get to the chat here to see if there's anything coming up. Peter Milton saying we paid $150K for Himmelman, so we're obviously hoping he stays. Yep, he might not be a starter this year, but he undrafted free agent and tackle. He's probably one that I would feel, unless he kills it in training camp and preseason, which we don't know yet, right? It hasn't happened. But I feel pretty good about putting him on practice squad and not having him zapped up. But, things can happen. We got Andrew Baker in the house too, always supporting us, saying late again, but hey, summer fun and grilling at its best. I'm a grill as soon as we're out of here. So save me some, right? I got some hot dogs to cook. But MHH for life, about to destroy these burgers. There you go. Let us know what you put on your burgers there. What kind of condiments you guys put on there? That's always a lot of fun. The more sauces I can get on my burger, the better. I'm about it. Actually, I might even cook a Beyond Burger tonight. Wife's a vegetarian. The grocery store sent us 4 instead of 2. I'm not better than a Beyond Burger. They're tasty as hell. So get in my belly, right? But yeah, guys, I think that's going to have to get us on out of here. I know that John had a little bit of internet issues. I can see him in the background now, though, but it's always a lot of fun to have John on here. That will not be the last time that John and I talk together, and we appreciate everybody coming in here. Here we go. We get one more for Richie Rich because he always asks good questions, and I feel like he's asking questions all day. I don't even know if we got to them. So Richie Rich, return a question here. Are we talking 53-man roster spots? Do we think Boone could or should fill the returner role? I definitely think you could have a battle with him versus Tyree Cleveland as that kick returner, not punt returner, and save that roster spot with Deontay Spencer for somebody who you have years of control left. Like if it's between Deontay Spencer's staying on the roster or moving on from Seth Williams, who you have 4 years of control left, I'm going to do what I can to keep Seth Williams on this team because of what it means for the salary cap roster construction years down the line, right? It's not about 2021. It's about 2023, 2024 at that point. So good question there, Richie Rich. And let's see if we got any other ones in here. People giving us a hard time about the internet. That's okay. That's life. And I saw one more on here going on. Somebody asked earlier about Bradley Chubb and what he would need to do this year if he would earn a top 10 level contract for an edge rusher. And I think he's going to get it, guys. It's not about the way the NFL works is that it's not always about the best guy getting paid at that moment, but it's who's next to get paid, right? It's cyclical. It's like when Kirk Cousins got paid. That was before Aaron Rodgers got a new contract, before Dak Prescott got a new contract, before Patrick Mahomes got a new contract. Well, he got paid the most because it was his time. Bradley Chubb is going to get paid top 10, top 5 edge rusher money at the time. I think the big key is to pay him before Myles Garrett gets paid because Myles Garrett and TJ Watt are going to break the edge rushing market. So you don't want to be reactive and have Bradley Chubb's agent saying like, well, here's the baseline for what a great edge is paid. We have a great edge. Pay him that. You don't want to be doing that. That's when you get hurt. That's what who was it? I think the Cowboys did that, sat on their hands. They could have saved $15 million a year on Dak Prescott. They didn't. And now they're paying for it, literally. So that's my biggest concern when it comes to Chubb. But he's going to get paid as long as he doesn't get hurt again. He deserves to get paid. So that is what it is. And Clifton Harris, Mac McCain, a sleeper at cornerback. I'm looking forward to looking for him. I'll be honest, I did not watch much Mac McCain at college at North Carolina A&T. I think they're the Bulldogs. But I wait until there's real reps against better talent to really make a call on him. So that's what's great about training camp preseason is that you're talking about, you know who these starters are probably going to be for the most part, but it's the back end of the roster. These guys fighting, clawing for spots. Ugh, that's the best. Andrew Baker saying jalapeno cheddar barbecue burgers. Oh my God, Andrew, to post your address in the chat or send me some to Seattle. That would be amazing. That sounds awesome. Holden Adams giving us a burger too. Cheese, bacon, lettuce, grilled pineapple, barbecue sauce, mayo, steak and shake seasoning. Oh, steak and shake. I don't think they have any of those up here in the Pacific Northwest, but I remember myself some 2 a.m., 3 a.m.s going to Steak and Shake, getting the side-by-side shake, the banana and strawberry, after having fun, enjoying some adult beverages back in the day. So yeah, it's a good time. Steak and Shake, near and dear to my heart. But guys, that's gonna have to do it for us today. We got to get on out of here. That will do it for Mile High Insiders. I will not be here next week. You will see. Well, I'll be here Tuesday and Thursday, but I will not be here on Saturday. I will be backpacking in Mount Rainier, doing the Spray Park Loop, about 20-30 miles. So hopefully we'll have good weather. It'll be a good time. Got 5 permits for that. It's a really hard to get backpacking trip permit. So I'm really excited about that. Oh, here we go. Robert coming in. Awesome show, guys. Stay safe, Broncos country. And want to reiterate that as well. Stay safe, Broncos country. Make smart decisions. Obviously, it's your choice out there, but we want to keep you guys safe and make sure you're coming back. Peter Milton saying, have a great time, Nick. Thanks as always. Thank you, Peter. We will see you Tuesday morning. But your Wednesday night. Are they ahead? I guess it'd be his Tuesday night. Okay, there we go. Tuesday night for Peter, Tuesday morning for me. But that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Mile High Insiders. Follow us on Twitter. Excuse me. At Mile High Huddle Pod or at MHI_pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, please support us. Go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod and join the conversations there. If you want to say, hey, you guys didn't talk enough about Quinn Miners today, take that conversation to those groups, at us on those groups. We're on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. At me on there. Let's have a conversation. Let's take it beyond the live stream here. Also, if you guys are joining us on Facebook today, please click the heart react, the thumbs up, or the care react. I see you, John, with the care. I care about you, John. So thank you very much. YouTube folks, if you're joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. It's probably the number one thing you guys can do to help us reach new listeners. And man, it could not be more important than right now with the season coming up, with the off season or wrapping up, training camps here. Quarterbacks are reporting. Didn't even talk about quarterbacks today. God, man, what a great show when we didn't have to talk some BS beating a dead horse with the quarterbacks. So thank you guys for that. Oh my God, Clifton, you're making me, now I'm upset. I miss rallies. Checkers, tried to replace them. I don't remember rallies. I had Checkers, and they're not out here in the Pacific Northwest, and I literally crave their fries. I'm getting hot shakes thinking about their fries. Best fries out there, Checkers. And Peter's saying, have a great time, Nick. Thanks as always. And don't forget these stars. So Peter, you're a star. Thank you so much. Bobby's saying ketchup, tomatoes, and cheese on a burger. There we go. Nice and easy. And now time to drink my brown ale, says Richie Rich. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining us today. Also follow myself on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH and John on Twitter at John K MHH. I know that he had a little bit of issues with the internet there, but had a lot of fun with him on. Hopefully you guys had fun as well. I'll see you guys Tuesday morning. Make sure you come back tomorrow for Zach and Chad. Stay safe. Have a great Saturday. Love y'all. Go Broncos.